Hi, Elicia Clegg here, and we are with, I'm going to say it wrong, Modwain.
Modwain Aileron.
I was practicing. So we wanted to get together because we are on opposite sides of the world, both culturally and geographically. 8 hours apart, that's a long ways. We wanted to talk about there's no nice way of saying this, but the destruction of the man. So being male has become toxic. Therefore, we want to explore what will happen if I don't even know who they are, succeeds in destroying everything that it means to be a male.
Well, so far in our history is that by the destruction of the male, you are basically driving a wedge within your very society. We see decline of birth rates in just about every Western country. We see, how do you call this nicely? You see matriarchy on a rise, whilst at the same time women complaining about how they don't have any rights. And then funnily enough, they browbeat men, gave those women the rights to begin with. So what we're seeing is a society that is breaking up from within. Funny enough, this is something that Marxism has always been a great fan of doing. This is basically what the whole idea of the Frankfurt School of Thought was about. How can we disrupt a society? And the best way to disrupt a society is not, as a lot of people thought, by destroying its history, but by destroying its men.
Yes, because by destroying, and I'm going to throw some stuff out here because I gave it a lot of thought. By destroying the man, you also destroy the woman. And by destroying the woman, you destroy the child. And then you have a bunch of little kids running around that can be easily harvested and picked off by the ones who claim to be doing it for our own good.
Well, yeah, that's how indoctrination works. If I can indoctrinate a child, I have gained a male or female ally.
Yes.
When they get older.
Till they get older and can see through it. And that's what I'm afraid of, is that I know that the communists will say, no, it's not, it's about sharing and all of this stuff. But if that were true, they wouldn't need to overthrow the government, because you can easily, especially in the United States, you could take 100 people, you buy a block, you all live and work together. So you don't need to, especially in the United States, to overthrow the government to get a collective identity going. And so all they're doing is ushering in a type of dictatorship, no matter what, because the leaders at the top, and then nobody has any money, no mobility, and you're stuck being a type of slave for all eternity. Sucks.
It's kind of funny because if you look at it, and in a way, it's kind of double. I blame feminism, and at the same time, I don't really blame feminism, because this is Marxism. But what we've created in our society is a system where a handful of women, and depending on which country you are, it's between 10 to 20% of the women, decide the fate of everyone. And they don't do it because they want to help people. No, they do it because they want to push a certain narrative. The narrative that basically destroys the whole concept of boy and girl, because these are now suddenly social constructs, even though every study in the history of the world, and this is even true for their own studies, prove that boys are boys and girls are girls.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to say this, you're not allowed to think this, and boys are bad for being boys, so we need to punish them. and we need to protect girls because, well, they're girls, they need protecting.
Yeah.
It's that incredible double standard that created a society where a girl can run up to a boy and hit the boy and then basically laugh in his face, say, "You're not allowed to hit me back because you're a boy."
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an example that I like to give, but at the same time, it's not a far-fetched example as well, because it does happen a lot. Women hit men, but men are not allowed to hit women back. We see this, for example, in the numbers of domestic violence. 60% of the domestic violence victims are women. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That means that 40% of them are men.
Yeah.
But we're ignoring those 40%. But it gets worse still, because out of those 60% women that are a victim, we know that a large percentage of them aren't really victims. They are the instigators of the violence.
Yes.
But unfortunately, they found a guy that will hit back.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, there are also men that actually hit women, and they're bastards.
Yeah.
But we don't tell the truth. And when it boils down to it, who are bad? Men are bad. And this is not something that we only see with adults. This is something that they cook in at the very youth. When a kid is 2, 3 years old, they're already telling him that, oh no, he's boisterous, that's bad. And by this, we're destroying our men.
We are. And it's sad.
It's scary. Yeah.
Well, it is scary. It is scary. I mean, what I find interesting is that, so Utah, we're the last holdout, right? We actually do have replacement birth level for our population. We have a movement where we're trying to, we don't buy a lot of expensive homes so that we can have at least one parent stay at home, but we're just barely holding on at this point. We're just barely holding on. And it's just the culture of Utah, and we're already seeing where a lot of the older role models are saying that boys are getting to a point where they don't even want to try anymore. Yeah. Why try when the game is rigged against you? Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, they don't even want to get a license. They don't want to ask a girl out. They want to hide from the world, which I don't blame them, because they're being told constantly nonstop that they're the reason that everything is bad in this world.
Yeah. Well, this is something we see throughout the whole Western world, unfortunately. I mean, in the Netherlands, we had a minister of education talking about there were 3 groups that had a problem with schooling. There were kids from foreign parents, children with a learning disability, and boys. And to me, if you just say the group boys, which should basically mean half of the students in the Netherlands have a problem with our education system. Our education system is not aligned to teach our boys. To me, this is a huge problem. But to the minister, it was the 3rd group. We have lost our focus. In the Netherlands, we had a campaign not too long ago, Let Boys Be Boys, which created an uproar because of the feminist community was like, yeah, but why can't we let our girls be girls? We're not saying you cannot let girls be girls. We're asking you to let our boys be boys. Does this mean boys have the right to hit women? No, of course not. But they do have the right to be boisterous. They do have the right to be explorative. They do have the right to expend their energy. And somehow we're not allowed to do that. Our boys are not allowed to do this. So what we see is that, as you said yourself, they're opting out. They're not going to universities or higher education. Why bother?
Yeah.
The system is rigged against them to begin with anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're seeing a massive decline, and I mean, we could play the blame game all we'd like, but it gets to a point where you have to say, okay, enough is enough. What can we do now to fix this problem? And I think I have a few friends that they have boys, all boys, And so they're allowing their boys to be boys. They're allowing their boys to climb trees. They're allowing their boys to go, camping and learning all this fun stuff. And I think I really would like to see it where we can get to a point where we let our children be who they are and not punish them for who they are, and be a little bit more forgiving of it. Because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I really think we should be able to do that. And it doesn't mean that we should allow boys to misbehave. That's something else. Neither should we allow our girls to misbehave. We should teach our children how to behave. This is why we educate our children to become women and men.
Yeah.
But we should allow them to reach that point in their own way. I mean,
I agree.
You cannot compare a girl 8 years old to a boy 8 years old. A girl 8 years old can easily sit in a school bench and learn from a book. She can. And I'm not even going to talk about whether boys and girls are equally intelligent, because to me, it doesn't matter. One can score higher than the other. I don't give a fuck. That's really not the point. The point is, girls, women, from an age on, I think 6 onward, can actually learn by sitting still. Not. They need to expend their physical energy. Their whole biology is forcing them to move, to expend energy, to create muscle mass. It's something that has been forced into us, evolutionary. So are boys stupid? Can't they learn? Yeah, they can learn. They can actually learn a lot better if they move.
Yes, exactly.
The funny thing is, the best example for this is military schools.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure, but I think Point West is an American military school, right? And is it or is it not on equal par as a university?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So imagine my surprise. I have the same in the Netherlands. We have several universities. No, they're not called university. They're called Royal Military Academies. And they're on par as universities as well. But half of their study day is filled with physical activity.
Yes.
Running, sports, whatever, physical activity.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, when they have their paper, on par as the same paper on a normal university without all that physical movement.
Yeah.
But now the funny part, if a normal school says, okay, you need 8 hours a day to study to reach this blah, 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 and a military academy says, okay, you need 8 hours of study to reach blah, 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 but half of our study is physical activity.
Yes.
So that basically means they only study 4 hours because the other half is physical activity.
Yeah.
But at the end of the route, they have a degree which is basically at the same value. Does it then not prove that men need their physical energy expanded to help their mental facilities?
Yeah. And you know what you could do, like if you're trying to sell this idea to the public, because you have little boys that don't conform that way. Like you're a boy, you're a boy, you're a boy. But so you have a boy that does like think of like the Stephen Hawkings and, the people like that are so like, and I've met boys like that. My daughter, my teenager happens to like computer programming. And so she's around the boys, but she's in a boy world, but the boy world is not so much the boy world because computer programming itself is a little bit different where they are like beyond focused. Like they put focus to shame, but they like that. So what you do is if we could just create an environment that allows kids that are like totally focused, like crazy focused, to be in this group. And then you have the ones that like to exercise. My granddaughter's like that. She is wild, jumping and everything. You have your boys and a couple of girls in there that are willing to rough and tumble. And then you have the group of that are more kind and caring that want that. I don't see why we can't do that. We have enough resources, and the computer alone has opened this up. I don't understand why we're still doing the same schooling we did back in the day, but now we're punishing boys because we're not Japan.
Well, it's even worse. Back in the day, we did do this.
Yeah.
Back in the days, we did say, okay, you have to go to school 8 hours, but every day there will be several times, for example, recess and half an hour of running and physical activity. Mm-hmm. We used to do that every day. We haven't been doing that since the last, I'm going to say 25 years. But I remember that.
Yeah, it feels about like that.
Yeah, and I remember when I was young, we used to run regularly. In the Netherlands, there are now schools which are basically going back to that. Every day, they will, in the morning and in the afternoon, run for half an hour.
Yes.
We're talking about top sprinting. We're not talking about distance running. We're talking about expending energy and movement.
Yeah.
This is very good for the boys. It's not bad for the girls, don't get me wrong. Girls don't need it, but they still profit from it because it's good to expend your physical energy. But boys absolutely need it, because if they do not, they become, how do you call it?
Fidgety?
They can't sit still.
Yeah.
They
need to get the wiggles out.
Yeah. So they need to expend their physical energy. But once they have expended their physical energy, they're good. They can sit in the school benches again, and they can pick up and learn stuff.
Exactly.
Funny enough,
exactly.
This is one of the main problems, that the feminization of our world, and I'm not talking feminization as in womanization, but I'm talking about feminization as in the feminist is deciding what the world is looking like. The feminization of our world caused the makeable society to collapse. The makeable society suddenly had decided that boys weren't allowed to be rowdy.
Why did they decide that? That's what I don't understand. Like, do you ever really think about it? Like, go really deep into thought and say, why do women want to make men into women?
Because
why?
If you look at it from a very black and white point of view, if you're a man, you're supposed to be able to know what you're talking about. You're supposed to be able to be an island, which is somewhat a double standard, because of course a man is not an island, but you're supposed to be this strong individual, and people need to look up to you. Mm-hmm. This is the idea feminists create of men. This is not how men look at each other.
Yeah.
And if I have the idea that you are supposed to be an island, I need to break you down, because I don't want you to become an island. And it's not that I don't want you to become an island because I fear your strength. No, I need to break you down before you get to that point. Because if I can indoctrinate you when you're a kid, as an adult, you will do what I say.
Yeah.
Funny enough, you can't just say, okay, boys, you have too much energy, you need to settle down. So they used a psychological ailment. I'm sorry, I need to think of words because I am getting a little bit tired. A psychological ailment which actually does exist. ADHD or ADD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or attention deficit disorder. This is something that really exists. There are people who actually suffer from it. I can say that my personal experience is that 75% of all the people which have been diagnosed with that are suffering from a false diagnosis. I've seen a report from Australia where they actually said 90% of the people with the ADD or ADHD diagnosis are suffering from a false diagnosis. Every woman or girl with this diagnosis, you will find between 5 to 10 men with this diagnosis. How come we give this diagnosis so much? Because what do we do when kids are rowdy and they're energetic? We want them to quiet down, because if they quiet down, it's easier for us to indoctrinate them. It's easier for us to dominate them. So we give them medication to calm down. But with that medication, we're also destroying their identity.
Everything.
We are
Everything.
we're destroying them, their
We're
identity
destroying them.
in their formative years.
Yeah.
So basically, what's happening is our boys are not forming themselves into big boys and men, but they're forming themselves into something that is not supposed to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, we see a rise, for example, in gender dysphoria,
Yeah.
which now suddenly is no longer a psychological ailment. No, it's
Oh,
a
but
growing thing.
ADHD is. Yeah. Wanting to chop off your body parts is not, but not being able to sit still is.
Which is something I don't understand. I mean, yeah, but my boy likes to play with Barbie. So what? Let him play with Barbies. Doesn't mean he's a girl.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I say that so much. Wearing makeup doesn't make you a girl. Wanting to play football doesn't make you a boy. Why do we have to? They're actually the most sexist. When I took the test to see if I was a boy or a girl, I was mad because as a woman, they're saying that I'm a man because I'm good at math. I mean, that's pretty effing sexist. That is way sexist to me.
It's quite simple. Do you have ovaries? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Then you're a woman.
Yeah. It's like we have different brain types, we have different bone density, we have different hormones, we have different DNA, we have different positive and negative aspects. But yeah, it can all be boiled down to wearing lipstick. Oh my God, I love lipstick, so I must be a chick. No, stop it.
It's even stupider than that, in my humble opinion, because you have men that like to dress like women. Does that mean they're transgender?
No.
Oh, I mean, yes, they could be transgender, but they could be cross dressers.
Yeah.
We've had cross dressers as far back in history as I can remember.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's like they're misrepresenting personality and what you like with gender. I'm coming out with it. I've already written it up, and I'm supposed to make it by tomorrow. So I was looking at the references to who made the curriculum, and one of the books that is their reference. So there's scientific evidence that there's no such thing as gender, is a child's book written by a feminist, not anything else, written by a feminist that claims that not only is gender a social construct, but also sex is a social construct, which doesn't even make sense it doesn't, like, that's I don't even know what to say when someone says, okay, so my vagina is a social construct. How the hell does
because someone else told you to have a vagina. Probably your doctor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm assuming it's gender. I already know I know that my mother had a male doctor, but I can't. Some of these people I don't know what to say, but they're like sick in the head.
Yeah.
And I don't even believe in sickness in the head, but ever since I started going down the road of understanding feminism, because it caught me off guard, because you have to understand, I live in Utah. I live in a bubble as far as progressivism goes. So, and I say that in quotes because we've always been a community in Utah. Even if you're not part of the dominant religion, we all kind of work together. We never think about male and female roles. We just, you're lucky if you marry a man that actually goes off and allows you to and takes care of the children. And so it was so weird to me with all of these just ideas of craziness and these. I always thought feminism was over, right? I thought it ended in the 60s when we got our rights.
Feminism did not destroy society, even though a lot of people seem to think that it did. There's nothing feminism achieved that is well for society.
Yeah, nothing.
I've given this challenge out to a lot of people. Name me one thing that feminism achieved that's actually good for whole of society, not just for women.
Yeah, nothing, because women could already vote in a lot of places.
They could.
We could have a job in a lot of places.
You know
we
what
could
that actually gave women the right to vote? I'm going to interrupt you because I really, really like to make this point. Do you know the first country that gave all men and all women the right to vote?
No.
The Grand Duchy of Finland. They did so at the end of the 19th century. All men, all women got the right to vote at the same time. Do you know how many feminists the Grand Duchy of Finland had?
How many? 0.
I'll give you a hint. It's a nice round number.
10?
0.
0.
You can't get rounded with that.
Well, I do think, I don't know, I going over the history of feminism, I think there has to be something. I mean, every movement has at least one good thing.
Yeah, you'd think that. I can't name one. And I've actually looked into this. Okay, let's look at the right to vote. In America, women...
No. We already had the right to vote. No. I wouldn't even say that was it. I'm trying to think. It has to be, I mean, there has to be at least one thing, like with everything, even a serial killer has at least one good thing that they've done. So, I mean, there's got to be at least one thing. There's, well, maybe changing the structure of garments. There you go. I found something.
Nope. Actually, bras were at first considered to be a great invention, and feminists were very happy. And then Madonna said, "Oh, I'm going to burn my bra," and suddenly feminists really didn't like bras. So, nope. Even garments, nope.
What about the birth control pill?
We're getting sidetracked a little bit though, because the topic was why.
I know. Let's stick with, because I have to wrap it up, and I know it's getting late where you are. It's like way late. What is it? 2, 3, 2? Yeah. Okay.
That's okay. I've still got 2 hours.
Okay. So I want to end this by giving parents a little bit of hope and some advice. So especially for and I don't get paid by this person, so don't think I'm shilling, okay? Because I'm not. I do not get paid for this. But this book right here, can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this book is a book that I'm going to...
So leave it up there for a while.
Okay. So this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teenagers, right? Get this for your children when they're, I would say at least, I mean, there's not a minimum, but I would say by 12, 13. He has tapped into everything that's going on for children, and he's teaching them in this book how they can go become the person that they're meant to be, and that they can love their community and their friends without succumbing to the pressures that the world is throwing at them. E.g., there is an actual part in this book that talks about victimhood mentality and how not to fall into the trap. So I highly recommend that for any parent to give to their kid and to really work through it, because it's almost like an information war against our children right now. And I think that anything that parents can do to help their kids survive this destructive crap that they're being taught, that we should do it.
Okay. And if I can also give one point of advice, if you go to your doctor and your doctor tells you your kid has ADHD, take him home. This goes for your daughters too, by the way. Take him home and spend time with them whilst really moving. Start running with them, start biking with them, play sports with them. Give them an outlet at least every day for at least half an hour at a time. And then see if he still has ADHD. Because our boys are bolsterous. They need to expend their physical energy. If they cannot expend their physical energy, they have a problem and they become restless and they start doing stupid stuff, basically the same as we all did when we were kids.
Yeah.
Are not a luxury. They are not a bauble to gloat over. They're work. We need to work at our kids and we need to spend time on them. Don't fall for the trap that by dropping in some medication, you can make them more demure, because that's not how it's supposed to go. And you're destroying them by doing this. So that's just my little tip.
I like that tip. It's good. It's good advice.
Thank you.
Great advice. And homeschool if you can. There you go. Boom. Plug in the homeschoolers. Because you know I homeschool.
Well, I don't really, I'm not a real big fan of homeschooling, but then again, in the Netherlands, homeschooling isn't as common. I mean, it's not that it's not allowed, but it's just not common. But as a teacher, do not sit back when your kids go to school.
Yeah.
Be interested in what happens at school, because do not blindly believe that the school will do what's best for your kid. The school will do what the school is told to do. Yeah. Do not.
And don't think you know what your kid is learning. Don't think your kid is learning exactly what you were learning, because that has got to be the furthest from the truth, farthest from the truth. I don't know if it's further or farther, but it is not close to the truth. Everything we learned when we were younger, they are not teaching that crap anymore. And it's not even crap. I thought I had a pretty good education.
Well, if I look at myself, I'm a little bit of a history buff, or it's a hobby of mine. I know a lot about history, and I know this much. I learned most of it after I left school, because what they teach in school is, if I would call it rudimentary, it would be an overestimate.
Yeah.
So yeah, be involved in your kid. Be involved in your kid's education. Do not sit back and think school will manage for you, because
and don't be afraid to love your children.
Yeah.
I see that as a big problem now. Like before, it seemed like it was but it seems like I see too many, not even cold parents, but just like, I don't even know the word to describe it, as if it's like a game, and they're just not even a game, like a sitcom, and they don't have, I don't know. But don't be afraid to love your kids. Don't be afraid to teach your kids. Let's say you can't homeschool, right? You just can't homeschool. Exercise, walk with them. Just like every day, me and my 13-year-old, we go for an hour walk every morning and talk.
Yeah.
Not all the time. But I think that we could all learn a lot, and we need to save our children, because quite honestly, our future is at stake, and it doesn't look so bright right now.
Nope. We really have a problem, and it starts with the destruction of our men and our boys. But don't worry. In all fairness and in all equality speaking, don't worry, women will be next.
That's what I said. Yeah, first starts with the man, then the female, and then the children are all for the picking. So if you, it is, it's just the nature of things, and it is what it is. But yeah, and I see it too. I do see young ladies starting to cave under the pressure of there no longer being any men. And these aren't even girls that are feminists or even think about that stuff yet. They're still younger, but they're starting. You see the disruption, so something has to give, and it has to be soon, or it's going to be really dark for a while, but then we'll climb back up again.
It's kind of funny. I not too long ago read an article about a woman who is very, very feminist, and she was a very strong feminist, and she's very happy as a feminist. But too bad that I didn't have kids. But then again, it didn't fit because I had to have my career because I'm a strong feminist. But I really wish I had kids. How can you, as a feminist, say I wish I had kids and not have kids?
That seems like that's what I don't. Okay, I don't want to get off base, but at some point, I do want to talk to my female friends because I think, in my mind, the most female thing to do, as in ist, right, to be a female feminist, would be to have a child.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's the most wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, and it's the most wonderful thing. But what do you do? All right, I've kept you so long. It's so late. I know that I hear the children and getting restless too. So I've really enjoyed this. I will leave a link to his channel because I'm not Modwain. I get so much crap for not pronouncing names correctly. I wish everybody was just named Jan and John. I've got that down, Jan and John. You should really check him out. He's very intelligent. He comes from like a totally different world than me, and we're both seeing the same thing. So I think it's time for people to stand up and take notice, because if you have people that are worlds apart, grown up in totally different cultures, saying, hey, something's not right, we really do need to get serious about it. So we need to start talking to each other. We need to start preparing with each other. We need to be parents, and we need to love our children, and we need to let boys be boys, not bad boys, but boys.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that bad behavior.
Let girls be girls.
And let girls be girls.
Yes.
Let kids be kids.
Let me like to go shopping for shoes.
Not all. Hashtag not all.
I know. I don't like to shop, but that is one of the things I love to shop for is shoes. It's really weird. I hate shopping, but I can spend hours looking for the perfect pair of shoes. There you go.
On that note, thank you all for watching. I will also put this on my channel. Criticism, as always, is more than welcome. I really look forward to what you guys think and where you agree with us or where you think like, yeah, you're full of it, mate. Bring it on. Really. Don't believe it because I say it. Look into it.
Exactly.
I think this is where we're going to stop then, isn't it?
It is. All right.
Bye-bye.